Some quick advice and suggestions on accessing a non-responsive FireWire drive or external FireWire drive for backup on Apple laptops. This is for a drive that's the lights are not illuminating, and when the alternate cables have been tried, as well as alternate PSUs have been plugged in, and it's been tested on another computer and still is non-responsive. So for this, well, the main thing that we got to do first, and I've already cracked this case open, but I just didn't want to snap it back in because it's sort of a pain to get out. These cases will slide apart, though there is these two tabs on each side that have to be sort of freed up. So you're going to have to pry these a little bit with a thin screwdriver or something along those lines. Then it just opens up. And pull this off, pull the main case off, put that over here. These are light guides here, so these are going directly into LEDs that are inside this module here, and this just pops out. Our next step is we're gonna pop this out of here, and the one thing that's really nice here is that there's no screws holding it. It's all rubber feet that are holding it in, probably to decrease any type of shaking or vibration. So it just pops out here. So there we go. Now what we have is, and this is a 1 terabyte drive, Western Digital 1 terabyte drive, and we can see it has 2 PSUs going to it, or 2 power levels really, I'm sorry, going to it, a 5 volt and a 12 volt power supply. And it is basically a normal hard drive, not anything special about it. And what we're going to have to do is take off this module here. And this module is what is connecting in to the outputs and inputs from the hard drive, which are on this side. So it's just 2 screws. They're fairly short, so they come out pretty quick. Phillips head. Oh, there is one. And here's the other. And then we can see from these tabs here, we just need to slide it up and it pops off. And this is actually the board that's converting the, sorry about knocking the camera there, that's converting the SATA or serial ATA connector here onto this board, and then converting it to FireWire, which is a different type of parallel interface. So from here, basically, this is all we really need to do to this drive to be able to access it. And from here, basically, this is our data connector, and this is our power connector. And there's a few options here for connecting to it so that we can utilize like a basically USB interface as opposed to using the FireWire interface, which is these plugs here. And I'm not really sure what this one did, but I'm not a big Apple person, so I don't know. So for here, basically, what I've done is we can use either a dedicated type type of connector here, and this is made to go into a couple different size drives. I think it's a Sobrent connector. I will link to it in the description. Nope, I can't really see on the bottom of there, but I was hoping I still had the box for this, and I don't. This actually comes, it's basically about 20 bucks, and it comes with this connector, and it has a 2.5 inch IDE or ATA connector and a 3.5 inch ATA or IDE connector, as well as the SATA connector that we're interested in. And in addition to that, it actually comes with a power supply that will give both the 5 and 12 volt power to the connector here. But since I've actually cannibalized the power supply for this for another project, what I'm going to show you is a different way of connecting. If you have some other external hard drives, this one here is an uncased hard drive. It's an IDE hard drive connector. And really it's just this hard drive with a connector like that. So here's the ATA or IDE connector here, and then the power supply. Obviously that's not going to work on this drive because it's a different type of connector, but some of these more recent ones will just have the serial ATA connector. But this is another one. I've actually have some of the cables already plugged in. We can see it. The drive that was in here actually was connected by an ATA or IDE connector. What I've done is it has ports here. Here's our data port, and here's, oh, I'm sorry. This is our power supply port, and here's our data line, and it's converting it to the SATA or a serial ATA connector. So we can take these, and the main thing is we have to look at where this little notch is. They only plug in one way, so it's really nice. And I'm gonna plug this in here. So this is our power supply. It's giving both 12 and 5 volts to the drive. And then we have our data. And again, like I said, it only goes in one way. And this is, like I said, another older hard drive, external hard drive. And we can basically plug straight into this board. Oh, I got it flipped. There we go. And like I say, all these plugs, thank God, are polarized, so we can only get them in one way. And from this, if we just take this, plug in a 12 volt power cord, and using a USB 2.0 B cable, or B connector, which is the ones that you commonly see on printers and things like that. Just these fat guys. It will just go in here, and then we can once we power this up, we can plug it in using a USB interface and just recover the data off this drive. The one thing I would caution you about, and well, I'll show this part. If we were using this connector, it would just plug into here, directly into the drive. And then if I hadn't cannibalized the power adapter that comes along with this little device, we'd be able to plug that part directly into here too. The one thing I would say to look out for is you do not want to plug in this little adapter here is for using a 2.5 inch laptop drive as an external drive. which is fine to do. And it will plug into this. Oh, sorry, I flipped it upside down. It has a single connector here. The issue with these for you trying to use on these drives is that it only gives a 5-volt power supply, because the laptop 2.5-inch drives do not use 5 and 12 volt. They only need the 5-volt supply. So while this will plug in here, you won't be able to access the drive, and it won't be able to spin up. So essentially the simplest ways of accessing one of these drives, if this board that was originally connected on here, oh, there we go, is not functioning properly, we can still access the drive through the serial ATA connectors, just using a serial ATA to USB adapter and power supply. And those, if we don't already have that in some other external hard drive enclosure, you can buy for basically about 20 bucks. And I will link an Amazon description for this one, because I know it's on there someplace, in the description for this video. Hopefully that will help. If that does not solve the problem of accessing the drive, then there's some other steps we'd have to go through, and some of that might involve actually having to go to a clean room, which is not that expensive as long as you have not opened the drive, so you don't want to open up any of these points, and there's a few more that are underneath the stickers on both sides, actually, because then you've let in air in from the environment, and that air and dust and stuff in from the environment, and they will charge you a lot more money to access the data from the drive, because it's been environmentally corrupted, and they don't want to get any of that kind of dirt in their clean rooms. So, well, hopefully this will be useful, and you'll be able to access the info off your drive. And if not, please let me know, and I will review the other steps that we got to go through. Okay.